I'm Connor Old, and welcome to a bonus episode for this channel. In this video, I'm going to be giving my predictions for the 2024 Golden Globe nominations. The nominations are going to come out on Monday. I'm going to have my regular old Oscar countdown video once the nominations come out and give my reactions. Then a couple days after that, we're going to get the Critics' Choice nominations. I'm not going to be predicting Critics' Choice, but I will be reacting to those nominations and trying to figure out what they mean for the Oscars. But I decided to do one extra bonus video because now we're in the thick of award season, and to give you my predictions for the nominations in all of the Golden Globe film categories, not TV, all of film. And there's some updates to the Golden Globes this year. First of all, being that they usually only nominate 5 people or films per category. Now they've expanded that to 6. They've also introduced a new category, which is the Best Box Office Achievement category. And that will nominate 8 films, so we'll talk about that a little bit later. But essentially, I'm just going to go through my thoughts very quickly on some of the decisions that I've made for all the categories. And as always, if you want to hear my thoughts on a certain category, check the timestamps in the description, and you can jump around the video. And I do want to mention that there's going to be no possible contenders. I'm not going to give you what I think could also get nominated. I'm just going to give you my predictions and my reasonings, just going very quickly, briefly with each one. So in the Best Film Drama category, my first selection is going to be Oppenheimer. This is an Oscar Best Picture frontrunner, prestige movie, box office popular, very Globes-esque in many ways of being a classic Globes winner because it's got that box office, but then also the prestige. Killers of the Flower Moon, Scorsese's movies have always gotten nominated and done well at the Globes, so I expect this sort of towering achievement to follow suit. I have Maestro, and I think this awards group will particularly love this passion project. They love movies about artists, they love biopics, and I think Bradley Cooper, him campaigning and talking about his movie, will do very well with this group. They also nominated him for Best Director for A Star is Born, and nominated that movie for Best Film. Or then that was comedy musical that year. So they liked his past movie. I think they'll like this movie. And let's not forget, this was the same awards body that gave the Best Motion Picture Film Drama award to Bohemian Rhapsody back in 2018. So they love biopics, and they love biopics about musicians. Then I have Past Lives, critically acclaimed emotional drama. The Globes have recognized these types of family drama, relationship dramas in Nomadland and Coda and The Father. So this sort of follows that similar suit of a smaller independent movie, but with a clear emotional arc that resonates with this group. Then I have Anatomy of a Fall, which is a first for this year because most times, whether it be Parasite in years past or Minari, these movies would compete in the Best International Feature category, and they wouldn't compete in the sort of general film drama category. But this is the first year where they're actually able to compete in both categories, and as a result, I think we're going to see an international film get into this sort of main category of Best Film Drama. And I think Anatomy of the Fall makes perfect sense for it to be that sort of first film that does so, because it's got the prestige, it's got the sort of international appeal of it being the Palme d'Or winner and from a French filmmaker. But then also it has some populist elements too. It's still a very entertaining movie. It's not something like The Zone of Interest, which is very high art, sophisticated, but kind of hard to really enjoy, whereas Anatomy of a Fall is still a very enjoyable movie, while also still being sophisticated. So it has sort of both of those elements, because the Globes, I think, like to think of themselves as sophisticated, but still ultimately have populist tastes, and Anatomy of a Fall sort of checks both those boxes. And then in my final slot, I went with All of Us Strangers because I think it has a similar emotional connection as something with Past Lives, clear emotional connection, human drama. And when we're picking the predictions, I think for a lot of Globes voters, they try to go with, okay, I'm going to pick comedy movies for my comedy lineup. And then also, when I'm talking about the best drama movies, do I want to go with something like Saltburn, which is kind of a comedy, which is kind of a drama, it's kind of this mixed thing? Whereas All the Strangers is a very clear, traditional drama, but an effective one at that, an emotional one at that, and I think they're going to really resonate to it because of that sort of clear emotional arc. Now into my predictions for the Best Actor Drama category. I have Cillian Murphy for Oppenheimer, easy nomination, the center of one of this year's most acclaimed movies. I have Leonardo DiCaprio for Killers of the Flower Moon because they love Leo and they've rewarded him and nominated him more times than the Oscars have. So, they love him. Bradley Cooper for Maestro because, the Globes did like A Star is Born. They nominated him in Best Actor, but then also for Best Picture, also for Best Director. And I think Maestro will follow a similar trajectory. I think Cooper's campaigning in particular will help him in this category. And campaigning in general works better with the Globes just because there's a smaller amount of people. It's not like the Oscars with thousands of members. Globes only have about 200, so you can actually meet every single Globes member if you want. And Cooper has been campaigning since the SAG strike has ended. Then I have Andrew Scott for All of Us Strangers. Like I mentioned, with All of Us Strangers, it's very sort of clear emotional arc drama. Andrew Scott is the performance of the film. He is the reason why this emotional connection of a movie really resonates with people. So I think if you resonate with the movie, you have to sort of appreciate the sort of transformative type of performance without doing a whole lot. And then my final prediction is Barry Keoghan for Saltburn. And I think Saltburn is going to show up in a couple of places without spoiling anything later in the award show, just because it's a movie that's releasing, a theatrical release at the right time. Emerald Fennell's last movie, Promising Young Woman, overperformed. I don't think a lot of people had it getting in for as many nominations, Best Film Drama, Best Director, as it did when that happened a few years ago. So we know they like Emerald Fennell and their movies. Barry Keoghan was a bit of a surprise nomination last year. Not a lot of people had him getting nominated for The Banshees of Inisherin. Let's not forget also The Banshees of Inisherin beat out Everything Everywhere All at Once at the Globes last year. So they really like that film, and they like Barry in it. And I think the performances generally with the Globes, they like to go big and broad and lots of acting versus the more subtle types of performances. And Barry is able to do a lot and go a lot of places in this film. I think they'll appreciate this range of acting that he's able to do here. Then my predictions for Best Actress in a Drama. I have Lily Gladstone for Killers of the Flower Moon. The Globes love breakout performers, people who they've never seen before. They oftentimes nominate a lot of people that they haven't seen before that really wow them, or a lot of young performers oftentimes will get nominated at the Globes, and they won't at the Oscars. And Lily Gladstone is sort of big breakout from Killers, a movie I expect to be well liked and well nominated. Carey Mulligan for Maestro. She has more noms at the Golden Globes than she does at the Oscars, including a surprise sort of nomination last year when she got nominated in Best Supporting Actress for She Said. So I do think that they like Carey Mulligan, and I do think that she has a very sort of emotional role within the film, and she is the co-lead of the film. So when you think of Maestro, it really is almost her movie than it is Bradley Cooper's movie. So that's an interesting part of the film, and I think she really captures that character and does it very well. I have Sandra Hüller for Anatomy of a Fall, because I think if you like Anatomy of a Fall, and I'm predicting it again for Best Film Drama, you have to like Hüller. She's also in The Zone of Interest, which could compete for Best Film Drama as well, so she's top of mind. She's in a couple of contending movies, so that sort of even just helps her chances and pushes her over the edge. And there's lots of speeches in the movie, and you're not exactly sure where she is. She's sort of a mysterious character. They like French actresses. Let's not forget they gave the award, the Golden Globe Award, to Isabelle Huppert for Elle, a French movie, back in 2016. So they have a preference, I think, towards French films and French actresses. Now, Sandra Hüller's not a French actress. She's a German actress, but she's in a French film, so I think it's still sort of close enough. And then I have Annette for Nyad. The Globes love very physical performances, and this is very much a big performance where she has to do a lot. It's a biopic. She's playing a real-life person. The Globes have shown to reward biopics, and the Globes have nominated Annette Bening here at the Globes for movies like The Report or 20th Century Woman, and Annette did not get nominated at the Oscars for those movies, indicating that the Globes, at least with Annette's more recent output, have been a little bit more favorable. And then I have Greta Lee in Past Lives, who, like someone like Lily Gladstone, is a newer actor. I think it's more of a subtle performance, which is why it's in the sort of 5-6 slot for me, and I'm not super confident it's going to get nominated necessarily. But I do believe in Past Lives as a movie that can get in for Best Motion Picture Drama. And I think Greta Lee has been doing a lot of campaigning, and she is different than her character in the film, and she can be charismatic and charming, and I think some of that campaigning that she's been doing will pay off with the Globes, because she is different than her character, and then the Globes members can see that and go, oh wow, I guess she was a really great actor because she's doing something different. And then I have Caille Spaeny for my final prediction in Priscilla, and for a similar reason for Greta Lee. They like to nominate the younger actors, the newer actors, Elvis last year overperformed at the Globes, getting in for Baz Luhrmann for Best Director. So that indicates to me that the Globes and this group like this sort of period of Elvis. Now, that was a little bit more celebratory of Elvis. This one is less so. So my concern is maybe they just don't like the movie. But I do think because you see the movie through her eyes, it's easy to sympathize with her. There's a clear sort of emotional arc. And because she's younger, I think that's going to get even more bonus points for the Globes because of how much she really carries the movie on her shoulders. I liken this to, say, Ana de Armas, her nomination for Blonde last year, biopic, vulnerable, innocent woman, that kind of a viewpoint of a film. I think the Globes will resonate with that. Best film, comedy or musical, I have Poor Things, critically beloved, funny, but still sort of sophisticated and unique, very unique. The Holdovers, very easy connect to, heartwarming, funny movie. Barbie, of course, the box office sensation of the year, but still a studio comedy, and Greta was able to inject some of her ingenuity into the film and her unique brand of filmmaking, and I think that will be appreciated, particularly by the Globes, to make a studio film but still make it unique. I have American Fiction, which is the surprise festival hit, winning the TIFF People's Choice Award win, and TIFF and their audience, I've been to the festival 8 times now, because it's just regular people attending and voting on that award, it gives the winners of the People's Choice, oftentimes they're more populist winners. They're more generally well liked by everyday people, and the Globes have a little bit more populist taste versus the Oscars, which are a little bit more sophisticated and prestige-y. So because of that, TIFF is actually, the People's Choice winner is actually a good correlator between winning that category or that award and then also getting nominated at the Globes. So I do think American Fiction will sort of overlap. Then I have The Color Purple, which is this late-breaking musical, and aside from last year, we were on a bit of a great run where every year we were getting a musical nominated. It was La La Land, and Greatest Showman, then Mary Poppins Returns, and then we had West Side Story or Cyrano. There was a great sort of run there of musicals getting nominated every single year in this category. Let's not forget, it's the comedy/musical category. The Prom got nominated the one year. So I expect at least one musical to get nominated this year, and I think The Color Purple is the one with the most prestige, the most sort of campaigning behind it, the one that has the highest likelihood of getting nominated for Best Picture at the Oscars. A classic story adapted into a musical, so I do think that the Globes will recognize that and appreciate it. And then my final prediction was May, December, and technically I guess running in the comedy category. The movie is about an actor, and so it is sort of an industry side of things, sort of an insider baseball kind of a movie of a sorts, because it's about actors and their process in a sort of meta way as well. I think the Globes will appreciate and connect with that element. My one concern is that they won't consider it a comedy, and then they maybe won't nominate it here and nominate it for drama. However, it is campaigning and being run in the comedy category, so that's why I'm going with it here. Then for Best Actor in a Comedy or Musical, I have Paul Giamatti, The Holdovers, a classic sort of curmudgeonly performance. Jeffrey Wright in American Fiction, the core of the movie, lots of witty humor. The reason I think you'd like the movie is so much tied to him. In the same way, Giamatti, so much of the heart and humor of The Holdovers is because of Giamatti's performance. Similarly with American Fiction, I think you like the movie in large part because of Wright and his performance. I have Timothée Chalamet for Wonka, the HFPA, which is the Golden Globes voting member body, loves Timothée Chalamet. They nominated him for Beautiful Boy, and when the Oscars didn't, and they love their stars, they want to get as many sort of big-time movie stars nominated and show up to their award shows. And let's not forget Johnny Depp got nominated for Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, playing Willy Wonka back in 2005. And I think Chalamet's version will sort of follow suit. And I think there's a little bit of a respect for him because he's actually singing in the movie. This is a musical, so it's singing, dancing, and acting. And there's going to be a lot of respect just for the attempt. Then I have Gael Garcia Bernal in Cassandra, which is a little discussed movie, but it does have all the hallmarks of a sort of one-off Golden Globe nomination. A real-life story, playing a gay wrestler who starts an amateur and then sort of changes the game. Transformative performance, biopic, very theatrical, very much a capital P performance, and I think the Globes will appreciate that sort of dedication that Gail takes to the role. Then I have Matt Damon in Air, which is something that it does make me a little bit nervous because I'm not sure how Air is going to do. Will it resonate? Will people remember that they saw it back in March? But they have been running a lot of campaigns for it in terms of billboards and display ad campaigns and things like that. So maybe it does ultimately reach the Golden Globe voting body. And if anyone does, I do think it will be Matt Damon, because you have the comedy actor category, which is usually a weaker category because a lot of these guys aren't even going to contend for the Oscars, but because they're in this comedy classification, they can compete. And Matt Damon is well liked and is a big time celebrity and has been nominated for movies like The Informant at the Golden Globes that he didn't get nominated for at the Oscars. So there is an idea that the Globes still like Matt Damon quite a bit, and I think Air still was a relatively well-seen movie, so I have him here. And then in my final slot, I went with Jamie Foxx for The Burial, which is a little bit of a hope-dictating prediction for me, just because I hope that he's going to get nominated, because I think he's absolutely fantastic in it. But I also think that it still makes sense logically. The Burial is a movie that really doesn't get made anymore. It is the classic, they don't make them like they used to type of a movie. And the Golden Globes voting members are quite old. They're really old, or even more so than the Oscars. So they remember these types of movies, these types of courtroom dramas, and they probably watch the movie and are super entertained by it and have that same feeling of they don't make them like they used to anymore. And Jamie Foxx can be big, and they like big performances, and he's big in this movie, particularly in those courtroom scenes, but then he can also be sort of quiet and more reserved. So he has a lot of range within the film. The question is whether or not people will see the movie, but I do think that this is a typical kind of Golden Globes-esque movie, and I wouldn't be shocked if Fox gets nominated. Then for the Best Actress in a Comedy or Musical, I have Emma Stone for Poor Things. Crazy, unique physical performance, and they love her, nominating Emma Stone 6 times as compared to the Oscars, who only nominated her 3 times. Margot Robbie for Barbie, the center of the movie. If you like Barbie, well then nominate Barbie in Margot. Fantasia Barrino I have here for The Color Purple. Oftentimes when you look at musicals getting nominated, we have the lead actor also get nominated from that movie. So Emma Stone and Ryan Gosling for La La Land. La La Land gets nominated for musical, and also gets those 2 winners in Emma Stone and Ryan Gosling for lead actor and lead actress. Even something like Greatest Showman, Hugh Jackman gets nominated, or Mary Poppins Returns, Emily Blunt gets nominated. The leads of these musicals oftentimes get nominated. If you think The Color Purple is going to get nominated like I do, Fantasia Barrino should sort of follow suit. Then I have Jennifer Lawrence in No Hard Feelings, another sort of big celebrity in a sort of classic throwback comedy. The Globes have nominated her more times than the Oscars, most recently for Don't Look Up. So I do think that they are going to want to reward the effort of this being such a movie star movie and trying to bring back the studio comedy. And it's very much clearly a comedy, and they do usually like to recognize these more traditional studio comedies in this category, along with some of the more stranger, weirder types of movies like Poor Things. Then my 5th slot, I'm going to go with Eve Hewson from Flora and Son, which is sort of my big swing. Not a lot of people have it, but I think the more you do research and the more you look into it, the higher likelihood that this narrative happens, because the Globes love celebrities. They want celebrities at their shows, which is why they're going to nominate Chalamet and DiCaprio and Jennifer Lawrence, because it helps with their ratings and they like to mingle with the celebrities. At least that's the sort of the traditional history of how you understand their voting patterns. A lot of times it's what makes the most sense, what's a little bit more populist, and then also, is there a big celebrity behind it? They do like certain actors to nominate over and over again. And this isn't a celebrity, but this is a famous celebrity's child. And Eve Hewson's dad is Bono. And the film Flora and Son is from director John Carney. John Carney's film Sing Street got nominated at the Globes for Best Comedy or Musical back in 2016. So we know they like his films. And then you have somebody who's not a celebrity, but the daughter of a celebrity. They like the Irish, whether it be, Liam Neeson getting nominations back in the day, or more recently with the Banshees of Inisherin doing so well last year. I do think that they'll resonate with this Irish story set in Dublin, as well as the sort of heartwarming nature of the film. It makes you feel good, and Eve Hewson, I think for a lot of people, they haven't seen her as much, will sort of be really amazed at the power and that she brings to the movie, combined with the fact that maybe we can get Bono at the awards ceremony too. And then in my final slot, I went with Natalie Portman for May December. And instead of going for another wild swing like I don't know, Emily Blunt in Pain Hustlers, I went with Natalie Portman just because it's a little bit of a safer pick. She plays an actress. She's the lead of the movie, she's in a lot of it. She goes toe to toe with the other actors in the film. She's playing an actor, so there's that meta element to it as well. And she has some real standout scenes. So it's not the most inspired choice, but I do think it sort of makes sense, and you want to be smart and take calculated risks. And because I'm already taking the Eve Hewson risk, I went with sort of a safer pick with my final slot with Natalie Portman. And then in the Best Supporting Actor category, I have Robert Downey Jr. for Oppenheimer. The frontrunner, it's his award to lose. You know, they've nominated him at the Globes many times for movies that didn't even get considered at the Oscars, things like Sherlock Holmes, and he has been doing a lot of campaigning post-SAG strike, so I do think that campaign will pay off and resonate with this voting member body with the Golden Globes. I have Mark Ruffalo for Poor Things, and like Emma Stone, he's very unique and strange, and another great physical performance, great con man performance, very funny in the film as well. Very unique and strange in manner, but really well fitted to the film. So a bold, strange, weird performance, but one that makes sense. Ryan Gosling in Barbie, another easy nomination, already an iconic character, and he has been doing a bit of campaigning for the film, which just surprises me, so he does want this nomination. Robert De Niro, Killers of the Flower Moon. The best Robert De Niro has been in a long time, in my opinion. Maybe, I guess, since The Irishman, but he's really terrific in the movie. And also, they like these villainous type performances. They were the first ones to nominate a reward, actually, Allison Janney for I, Tonya. They've given surprise wins to someone like Rosamund Pike in I Care a Lot, which is also sort of a villainous performance. So they do like these types of villainous roles, and I think that makes sense for Robert De Niro. Then Dominic Sessa for The Holdovers. And this was a bit of a late addition to my predictions. I wasn't 100% sure it was going to get in, and I had something else. But then, you know, I stepped back and I thought, you know what, let's just be really simple about this. Dominic Sessa, even though he's campaigning Best Supporting Actor, is ostensibly the lead of the movie. So he's in a lot of the movie. Is he in a lot of a good movie? Yes. A movie that I think is going to get nominated for Best Film Drama, or Best Film Comedy, and nominated for Best Director. Well liked. I think this group is going to really like it. Heartwarming, sweet, but also funny. Populist. Second at TIFF People's Choice, so we know that it has populist taste and appeal. So he's in a lot of the movie, he's in a great movie, and he's new. And like I mentioned, they like these newcomers, they like these newer actors, and I think because this is his first film role, they found him for this movie, they'll appreciate that newness and be really wowed by him. And then my final prediction was Charles Melton for May December, and I went with it for similar reasons as Dominic Sessa. Goes toe-to-toe with legendary actors in Julianne Moore and Natalie Portman, but he's also a fresh face. I'm assuming the HFPA hasn't seen too much of Riverdale, but he is very striking in the movie. He has some very key scenes within the movie, and he is essentially sort of the third, I guess, actor in the movie. So he is a supporting actor, but he is in a lot of memorable scenes and is in a lot of the film. So you do think of the movie and you think of him, and it definitely is a sort of like, oh wow, who is that type of performance? Because he's going up against these great actors and holding his own. Then in the Best Supporting Actors category, I have Divine Joy Randolph for The Holdovers, another key performance in a well-liked movie. Emily Blunt, Oppenheimer. They love Blunt, nominating her 5 times, even though the Oscars have never nominated her. So I could have gone with something like I mentioned, Pain Hustlers, but let's just nominate her for the movie that everyone really likes, and they really like Emily Blunt, so that's a lock. Danielle Brooks for The Color Purple, which could be the secret winner in this category. The Color Purple musical was really spearheaded by Oprah back in 2005, originally when it went to Broadway, and this character, Sophia, played by Danielle Brooks, was played by Oprah Winfrey in the original film. So you know that this role is juicy and has its big scenes. And so I do think Danielle Brooks will come out of the movie as one of the big sort of surprises, or one of the big enjoyable actors from the film. Then I have Julianne Moore for May December, who is a 9-time nominee. So anytime there is even an idea, a hope of maybe there's going to be a prestige type of Oscar festival movie, we're going to nominate Julianne Moore. And May December, I think it's going to get in for Best Comedy Film. So I do think Julianne Moore is going to follow that and get nominated in a very powerful performance where she gets a lot to do. Then I have Jodie Foster for Nyad, and Julianne Moore has been nominated 9 times. Jodie Foster has been nominated 8 times and has won the Cecil B. DeMille Award, so they love her at the Golden Globes too. And once again, another actress who, do you have a awards movie that's sort of on the cusp? Well, let's nominate you anyways, and Foster this year has her performance in Nyad, very charming in the movie, very charismatic, biopic, playing a real-life person who oftentimes has done some of the press and campaigning with her. So I think that that's notable. So you can see the two of them side by side. That always helps for an awards body like the Globes. And then in my craziest prediction, I guess, of this video, I went with Rosamund Pike for Saltburn, which on Gold Derby right now has 100-to-1 odds, but I don't think it's going to be 100-to-1 likelihood that she gets nominated. I think that she does get nominated because they like Rosamund Pike. They nominated her for A Private War, which is a movie that no one saw. They gave her the win, the Golden Globe win, for I Care a Lot, which was a movie that no one saw. No one even saw it before it got nominated for the Globes. Then it got nominated for the Globes, then it won. So they really like Rosamund Pike. So if they're going to nominate her for movies that no one's heard of and reward her for movies that no one's heard of, well, then maybe they'll reward her as well for movies that people have heard of, like Saltburn, which is releasing in theaters right as voting occurs, so it had that top-of-mind awareness. Also, Rosamund Pike has a really great killer lines in the movie. She's very notable. She's very funny and dry and rude, but in sort of a funny way. And, you know, I'm hesitant to think Saltburn is only going to get 1 nomination or no nominations. Let's not forget, Emerald Fennell, her last movie, Promising Young Woman, overperformed at the Globes, got in for director, got in for best film drama. It did very well in terms of the nominations, in terms of being seen and well liked. So why not, you know, so I do think the Globe members are going to end up seeing Saltburn, and they already like Rosamund Pike. They're going to see Saltburn. I think that's enough. And it is a really terrific, great role as well, and a memorable role in the movie. So I do think she's definitely a possible contender, and I think she gets in. Then my best director predictions: Christopher Nolan, Oppenheimer, just total control of the medium in one of the best films of the year. Martin Scorsese, Killers of the Flower Moon. If he can get nominated for Best Director for Hugo, I think he's going to get in here for Killers. Yorgos Lanthimos for Poor Things. He got nominated for The Favorite back in 2018 at the Golden Globes, and I expect The Favorite to Poor Things to get nominated similarly in terms of the award season, so I expect him to get nominated here in a very unique film. Alexander Payne in The Holdovers. The Globes don't really appreciate as many international directors in this category, or rather, they don't recognize necessarily directors from films done in the English language, so it helps in this case that Payne is an American, and he's been nominated 4 times for Best Director at the Globes, including for About Schmidt, which he didn't get nominated for at the Oscars. So they like him and they consider him a director, and I do expect this movie to perform well with this group. I also have Greta Gerwig for Barbie, just because, you know, let's not forget Lady Bird, her 2017 film, did very well at the Globes and was well liked, and even something like Little Women got Saoirse Ronan a nomination. So her movies have done well. Barbie is the sort of statement piece of the year because it's a studio comedy, but then still feels like a Greta Gerwig film. And I think box office achievement sometimes hurts, but in the Globes case, it actually helps. Look at James Cameron getting nominated for Avatar 2 just last year. I actually think the fact that she has the highest grossing movie of the year and that it is a different, technically original type of property will be even more appreciated by the Globes and should be rewarded for that. And then I have Bradley Cooper in Maestro, just because I think his campaigning will do well. I think him talking about him as a director will help, and his process and what he does, and how he created a great, you know, environment on set. He has been doing a lot of campaigning, but positioning more so as a director. And because, like I said, A Star is Born got in for director as well, I think Maestro can follow suit. Then I have a new category here, my predictions for the best cinematic and box office achievement. This is a new category, and I don't know what to do because we have no precedent, so I just tried to pick popular movies with franchises that kind of skew older, that have good cinema scores or critical reviews. So no real big reasoning. That was sort of the theory about all of them, but there's 8 nominees, so I just went with a bunch of them. So who knows if I'm going to be accurate or not, we'll have to see, but it's the first year, so we'll just take a stab at it. I have Barbie, Oppenheimer, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, the Super Mario Bros. Movie, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, Elemental, John Wick Chapter 4, and Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. Then my predictions for best film not in the English language. I have Anatomy of a Fall. I think it's going to get in for film drama, so it should get in here. the zone of interest, Best Picture potential contender for the Oscars from an established auteur, and could get in for Best Film Drama as well. Highly critically beloved, though that should get in. Society of the Snow, crazy true story, very entertaining. Since 2017, Netflix has done very well in this category. So since 2017 all the way up until 2022 last year, there's only been 1 year in which a Netflix movie hasn't been nominated in this category. So they do very well in this category every year. And I think the Society of the Snow is their sort of big movie, international movie of the year. Entertaining, enthralling, crazy true story, has big talent behind it. Michael Giacchino, J.A. Bayona is the director, so it does have some sort of ins as well in Hollywood people. I have The Taste of Things as well as my fourth nomination, just because the Hollywood Foreign Press Association loves French films, often nominating 2 French films in the same year. So they'll nominate Les Miserables, but also Portrait of a Lady on Fire, and this is France's official selection from this year. It also stars Juliette Binoche, so it has some star power behind it, and Juliette Binoche has been nominated for 3 Golden Globes herself, and is someone like an Isabelle Huppert of a legendary French actress who is very well liked. So the fact that Globes often like to nominate French films in this category, and this is a French official selection, and it's played at festivals, and it's critically acclaimed, and it's got Juliette Binoche in it, I think that will be enough to get a nomination. I have The Teacher's Lounge as well, which is Germany's official selection for the Oscars this year, and similarly to French films, the Globes also like to nominate German films, and in the past 8 years, 6 out of the 8 years, there was a German film nominated. So this year I just went with the German film, and I went with The Teacher's Lounge. And then my final slot here, I have Past Lives, which this could technically contend because it's a US submission, and there is, large sections of the film which are not in the English language. And we've seen movies like Minari or The Farewell get nominated in this category, even though they are sort of hybrid movies and US productions. I just don't know if it's going to qualify. That's the reason, and I'm not sure if people are going to think of it as an international movie. So I'm not sure exactly what the rules are about it, but so that's why I have it sort of in my 6th slot. But if I think it's going to get in for Best Film Drama, well then I should also have it here for Best Film Not in the English Language. Then the Best Animated Film category. The first one I have here is Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, because the first one won in this category. This one made more money, similar critical reviews. Elemental, Pixar movies always get nominated at the Globes, even more so than the Oscars. They'll nominate The Good Dinosaur, for example, so I expect Elemental to be nominated. The Super Mario Brothers movie I have here, because the Globes are a little bit more traditional with their animated picks, they'll go with some of the stranger, independent type movies like My Sunny Matt or something like Klaus. But then also they'll go with The Boss Baby, or they'll go with Ferdinand, or they'll go with Frozen 2, or The Cruise of New Age, the sort of traditional American studios that aren't necessarily from the big guys, Disney or Pixar. They'll go with a DreamWorks movie. So you usually see at least one of those per year. And I think Super Mario Brothers makes a lot of sense here because you can't really tell the story of animation this year without talking about that movie, because it was such a big box office hit and really still well liked. Then I have The Boy and the Heron. I have a little bit of a reservation just because they've yet to nominate Miyazaki, despite having 2 chances to do so. So that does concern me a little bit. But like I mentioned, they will go with the big studio type of animation movies, but then they'll do some weird ones. They'll do a Loving Vincent, they'll do a My Sunny Matt, they'll do an Eno-Oh. And I think that The Boy and the Heron has got such great critical reviews and love that it should be enough for Miyazaki to get this nomination, particularly an expanded 5 nominees. 6 nominees. Then I have Wish as well in my 5th slot here, because even though it was a box office bomb, I can't get over the fact that this is a Disney musical releasing late. I think that'll just be enough to push over the edge, but maybe the critical reviews are just too poor. And then my final slot, I went with The Peasants, which is a tough selection here for this final slot, but I thought that, okay, this kind of makes sense for a Globes type movie. They nominated the director's last movie, Loving Vincent. This movie has a similarly painted style of animation. So I think the fact that it's got sort of a different style of animation will make the Globes, make them feel sophisticated and different and unique and artsy and a little bit elevated, which is good for them and how they kind of want to feel, I think. But then also it makes sense because it is a sort of traditional story, and because it is still an interesting film, but it is a film that makes you go, makes you feel a little bit more classy by liking it. And I think the Globes want to be perceived that way. Best screenplay, I have Poor Things, creative, funny, best comedy contender, Oppenheimer, best drama contender, Barbie, best comedy film contender, Holdovers, same thing, funny, best comedy film contender, Killers of the Flower Moon. Then I have Eric Roth, who's a well-respected screenwriter, for a best drama contender, and then American Fiction I have for a sharp and witty best comedy film contender. All of them are best film contenders, which makes sense. You should expect them to get nominated in screenplay as well. Pretty confident in that 6. Then I have the best original song category. My first pick being What Was I Made For from Barbie. Celebrities Billie Eilish and Phineas. Emotional ballad in a popular movie. I have The Wish from Wish, just because Disney musicals do very well in this category. So even if it doesn't get nominated for best animated feature, they almost always get nominated here. In this category, I have Keep It Movin' from The Color Purple. This is the song that I picked. Who knows if that's going to be the song for the movie, but The Color Purple I expect to get nominated in Best Film, a Comedy or Musical. It's a musical. You expect at least one of their original songs to get nominated. So I think it's going to be this one from The Color Purple, but one of them from The Color Purple will get nominated. I have Can't Catch Me Now from The Hunger Games: The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. This is sung by Olivia Rodrigo. I think they're going to want Olivia Rodrigo at their show because she's this big pop star at the moment, and this movie is sort of a cultural movie at the moment as well. So I think that will be important for them. I have Dance the Night from Barbie, which is a song sung by Dua Lipa. I think they're going to want Dua Lipa to come to their award show, so they're going to go with this instead of something like I'm Just Ken, because they're already going to nominate Gosling in Best Supporting Actor, so he's going to come to the show regardless. I think they're going to want to nominate another Barbie song here just to try to get Dua Lipa, another pop star, another celebrity, to come to their show. And then in my final slot, I went with, for the first time, The Little Mermaid. And Disney does very well in this category. And I think because Halle Bailey, who is in The Color Purple, they'll remind them, oh, right, she's the girl from The Little Mermaid. They dominated at Disney musicals remakes in the past, with The Lion King got nominated back in 2019 for its original song. So I think Little Mermaid can definitely contend for having their original song here. Then for Best Score, I have Oppenheimer, which is from two-time nominee Ludwig Göransson, but he's actually never won before at the Golden Globes. This is a very sort of loud and involved score. It's a memorable score. Killers of the Flower Moon, I think as a tribute to the late Robbie Robertson. Every critics group and awards body will recognize the film. I have Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. The Golden Globes love Daniel Pemberton, nominating him for Steve Jobs, and surprise nominations for Motherless Brooklyn. So I do think he's going to get nominated for this sort of strange, weird score, and when I expect to be an animated film winner. The question then becomes, maybe he gets nominated for a movie like Ferrari, but I do think because Across the Spider-Verse could get 2 other nominations at the Globes, it makes sense that this sort of strange, weird, notable score, though, will get nominated here because they like Pemberton. Then I have Poor Things, another sort of very unique, notable score, different score in a well-liked movie. I have Asteroid City in my number 5 slot, which not a lot of people have, but Alexander Desplat is an absolute favorite in this branch, getting nominated for the past 2 Wes Anderson films, The French Dispatch and The Isle of Dogs. I also think it's worth noting that he has gotten nominated in the past couple of years for The Midnight Sky, for The French Dispatch, for Pinocchio. He got nominated for those movies at the Globe, but then didn't get nominated for those movies at the Oscars. So they really like Alexander Desplat. The question then becomes, is it going to be Asteroid City that gets nominated, or Nyad, which maybe has a couple of other nominations at the Oscars? So it very easily could go with Nyad, but I considered, you know what, you have Asteroid City, you have the Wes Anderson connection, a little bit more of a noticeable score, and less traditional, and more in your face and memorable, I think, as a result because of that. So I went with Asteroid City. And then Past Lives was my final prediction. And I was unsure about going with this one because they often like to nominate the same people over and over again, and this was a new composer in Christopher Bear. But I thought, you know, this is a Best Film Drama potential contender, a great noticeable piano score, and it's also a little bit more traditional than some of the weirder scores of Jerskin Fendrix or Alexander Desplat. But there you go, guys. There's all my predictions for the 2024 Golden Globe nominations. Share this video for the next few days so that we can get this viewed by a lot of people before the nominations come out, and then I'll react to my nominations and see how well my predictions did before we jump on to the next thing, Critics' Choice, more Oscar stuff, whatnot. We're in the thick of things, so I really do appreciate if you would subscribe to the channel and like the video for this bonus episode. That always helps. But that's about it. Until next time, Stay tuned.